Hello, my friends. Today we're going to go through the Karen Reed trial, what has happened so far, and where in the solo cups are we with this trial. Now, whether you have no idea what that reference means and you haven't watched anything, or you have been following through with some of my favorite YouTubers like Emily D. Baker or The Lawyer You Know, and you have been trying to keep an open mind, this trial has definitely captivated the attention of millions. And we want to take a step back because we're so in the middle of it. I mean, very important testimony going on right now, this past week and the following week, that we just want to take a step back and see what has happened so far. Why is this trial becoming so popular? And what in the solo cup is going on here? Okay. So let's begin from the beginning. We're going to go over what are we doing here? Who is on trial and for what? Right. So this is Karen Reed. Karen Reed is being accused of driving drunk and hitting her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, before leaving him at the scene to die in January of 2022. She is facing several charges, including second degree murder. Okay. And she's demanding that the indictment be dismissed, claiming that she has been framed. Now, what is the second degree murder definition here? I'm sorry, not here. In Massachusetts, okay? The unlawful killing with malice aforethought, meaning a planned or a thoughts that happen before the fact, but without deliberate premeditation. The term malice aforethoughts, I don't know how to pronounce that, but you guys sure can help me out in the chat, is a legal term of art and its meaning comes from the common law. So this is a big deal. She is being charged of murder, and she's being charged of murder with some thoughts, right? Beforehand. It doesn't mean she has planned for months, premeditated, but she has given it a thought because that's what the definition is telling us here. She's also being accused of driving drunk that night. So, and I believe this hasn't come into trial yet, but I do believe that initially her charges were milder. I think her charges were just the driving drunk and maybe as an accidental death. If you do know the answer to that, please put it in the chat so I can have more information because it's really hard to follow all the information that's going on in this trial. But here is the victim. We're going to take a moment to honor the victim, the police officer who has unfortunately passed away in this tragedy. And here is his picture, John O'Keefe. This is something I believe that one of his friends said. People talk about someone who would give the shirt off their back, but that truly is who John was. John O'Keefe, 46 years old, was a 16-year veteran of the Boston Police Department who was assigned to the Sex Offender Registry Unit, according to the Boston Globe. O'Keefe was raising his young niece and nephew in Canton after his sister and her husband died, and everybody in the town knew of this story and admired and respected him. When John lost his sister, Kristen O'Keefe, to a brain tumor, and his brother in law, Stephen Furbish, to a heart attack in a matter of months, John welcomed the opportunity to raise his beloved niece and nephew and build a home and a life around their needs. Now, what a testimony of a wonderful person, right? Showing through his actions, through a very difficult action, which requires a lot of sacrifice day in and day out, to take in two children and to raise them with everything around their needs, with love and dedication. So right now we just take a moment, to honor Mr. O'Keefe, thanking him for his service, for all his sacrifice, and knowing that he's in a better place today, honoring the victim of this case. Now, sorry that Mr. Lolly has has all of a sudden appear here in the screen. And who is this guy? If you don't know, you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn. Mr. Lolly. Okay. Adam Lally. Some people say Lolly, Lollipop, Lally, but let's call him Mr. Lally. He is the prosecutor. And in his opening statement, he says he will provide a roadmap to the case. Now, we are about 14 days in, and I don't know if he has provided a roadmap because I've actually been trying to piece everything together and I'm not very clear about what happened where. I haven't seen any testimony about any proof or any solid evidence of how Mr. O'Keefe died exactly, what his injuries were, what the cause of death was. I have not seen any evidence of Karen Reed actually driving drunk. And I mean, these are the charges, so we're just gonna reserve. We're gonna reserve judgment, but let's see what else he says. In his opening statement, he says that the defendant, Karen Reed, had an argument with Mr. Keefe, and then he lists the witnesses that are going to testify, including firefighters, officers, and others that were at the bar and the home where Mr. O'Keefe was found. So, some points of the prosecution's case, right? These are some of the things that they're claiming that they're going to be able to prove. They're claiming that this is what their case is, okay? And this is all in the opening statement. So defendant's car was missing pieces of taillights. That's good evidence, right? If all of a sudden you're saying she hit him, she hit the person, and then her car is missing taillight, okay, great evidence. That's just a statement though. This is not evidence yet because the opening statement is not considered evidence. We can say whatever we want to say, but at the end of the day, we want to see proof, right? Defendant insists to drive by 34 Fairview Road in Canton to look for Mr. Keefe. So here he's just saying that the defendant was looking for him the next day and she suggested to people that he could be there. So that's another thing they're using as proof. Defendant is the only one who saw his body when they got to the scene. Her former friend, Mrs. McCabe, who was with Karen the day that they were looking for John, she called 911. Prosecution claims during opening statement that the defendant asked Mrs. McCabe to Google how long for someone to die in the code, and this is going to become a big deal. This question is going to become a big deal because okay, so if you don't know anything, I'm gonna try. Friends were at a bar, right? This is we have a few couples together, adult couples that were at a bar drinking. The bar is about to close. I think they have a very early last call for alcohol, and then they decide let's go to so and so's house. I think it was Mr. Albert's house, and they all go there. Something happens. We don't know if Mr. O'Keefe went into the house, didn't go into the house. Something happens that from that point on at the house, the after party, there are two different stories. Karen's story is dropped off John and left, and then something happened with him. Now, the prosecution story is that Karen hit John with her car because they were arguing about something, and then she left the scene, and then the next day she appeared looking for him. So the Mrs. McCabe is the one of the ladies that was with Karen looking for Mr. Keefe the next day because Karen and Jennifer McCabe used to be friends. They used to be close. So Karen, when she woke up the next day or very early in the morning around 5 a.m., and she realized that John was not by her side, she got desperate. She started calling her friend, like her friend from last night. Like, did you see John? Do you know where it is? I have no idea where he is. So they were together looking for John when they went back to the house and found his body. Now, Jennifer McCabe apparently Googled how long does it take for somebody to die in the cold? Because his body was found in the snow. Now, we're going to talk about that when the evidence comes in. Jennifer McCabe is actually giving testimony right now. I mean, she did it on Friday, just direct testimony from the prosecution, and she's going to be cross examined on Tuesday. There's no court on Monday. So we're going to find out about this Google search because Jennifer is saying in the morning when Karen and I were at the scene and she's looking at the body and she's saying, Jennifer, Google right now. How long does it take to die in the cold? And that's what Jennifer McCabe is claiming that happened. The defense is claiming something else happened. So we will find out more. We shall see what is going on, right? So the defendant asks also, is he dead? Is he dead? And this is another thing that is going to come into the evidence portion. A lot of the statements that defendant supposedly made at the scene. Now, the prosecution talks about a fight the defendant had with John in Aruba, and that she was supposedly accusing him of cheating on her or uh, talking to another woman. And that is why the prosecution is using this as the motive for premeditating, like for at least a thought, right? They had a fight in Aruba. So the things were not going great with them. So they get back home, they go to this bar, and then Karen has another fight apparently, and then she kills him. So that is their claim, but it's not very clear to me yet how how big of a fight it is because most witnesses so far have said that they got along pretty well from what they could see. So we have the fight. Okay, then they say something about 24 miles per hour in reverse in the vehicle. I don't know if they have proof of that. But the prosecution also talks about pieces of tail light in a sneaker found in the front of the house. And then he also talks about cocktail glasses and more tail light pieces. Now, that would be real good evidence, right? If we have Karen's car missing tail light pieces, and then we have at the scene in the middle of the snow tail light pieces and maybe matching her car and maybe some tail light pieces in John's body, that would be like awesome evidence for the prosecution. The issue is that as we go over these testimonies, these things that are happening, apparently, some of the tail light pieces were not found the day they found Mr. O'Keefe, even though they did search the area, they did not see it. And then later, a few days later, that's when they found it. So that's why there are some things that are still, being being expect like we still need clarification on some of the prosecution's case here. Now they have what else here? Let me see. DNA witnesses will testify about these pieces being consistent with Mr. O'Keefe's findings as well. Human hair found, pieces of plastic found, cocktail glasses over additional days. Injuries, skull fractures, hemorrhage, swelling of the brain, which the prosecution claims is consistent with being hit by a car. He will ask at the end for the jury to find the defendant guilty of murder of second degree for striking Mr. O'Keefe with her car and leaving him to die. So, very strong accusations here from the prosecution case. And we're going to see what is going on. Now, the defense's opening statement, right? I want to actually play a little bit of the defense's opening statement because they are doing a great job and just I'll play both. I'll play a little bit of both. Just because the way they are presenting this case is very strong. So I'm gonna play. Let me just put this here a little bigger like this. I'm gonna play a little bit of both, in 1.5 speeds because we don't have a lot of time. And otherwise, we're going to stay here forever. And I'm sure most of you have watched this already just to get a better idea. Maybe this is a little better. Let me see. I don't know how to get rid of this box. Okay, how about that? That looks great. Let's get it started.
And I ask only that you keep your voice up, please.
Do my best. Good morning.
Good morning.
So as Ron was telling you, this is one of the two opportunities that I will get to address you. The first of which right now, essentially what I'm going to attempt to do, and I know you've heard over the course of the impairment process a number of different witnesses that were listed out as far as potential witnesses in this case. So what my intent here is to provide as much of a roadmap as I can through those waters and help you to navigate sort of who these people are and what relation they have in this case. We start with John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe grew up in Braintree. He was 46 years old when he passed. He was the son of John O'Keefe Jr. and Margaret or Peggy O'Keefe. He was a brother to Paul O'Keefe and to his sister Kristen Furbush. Kristen was married until John's brother-in-law was a man named Stephen, and they had two children who were very young in 2013. Now, in 2013, Kristen, unfortunately, tragically, passed away, succumbing to cancer in November of 2013. Within months of that, Mr. O'Keefe's brother-in-law and Kristen's husband, Stephen, passed away as well. Now, initially, when John O'Keefe's sister passed away, sort of the initial plan for that situation was that John O'Keefe was going to move in with Stephen Furbush and kids and assist as far as raising them. And then when Stephen passed away a few months after his wife, before those plans could be final, John O'Keefe then moved in with his niece and nephew and assumed the parental role and assumed legal guardianship with respect to both of those children. Now, he was assisted in this by a great number of people within the town of Canton where the Furbushes lived and where John moved into, home with the two children there. There were other parents within the neighborhood, other parents within the children's age group. You'll hear from a number of them over the course of this trial, but they included Mrs. Carrie Roberts and Mrs. Jennifer McKay. They helped Mr. O'Keefe out during those initial stages and during the time that he assumed this role. He also got help from his lawyer. John O'Keefe was a proud member of the Boston Police Department, had been for many years. He had been a patrolman prior to moving in with children and assuming this role.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit to see if he starts talking about the case.
In the month or so leading up to Mr. O'Keefe's death, the relationship soured. You will see text messages between Mr. O'Keefe and Ms. Reed to that effect. You will hear testimony from the children, from John's niece and nephew, in regard to things they observed within that relationship. And you'll hear testimony from some other individuals as far as their observations, what things they heard.
We have not seen that yet.
According to January 29th, 2022. Just after 6 a.m., the Canton Police Department receives a 911 call from a woman reporting a male party, subsequently identified as John O'Keefe, found himself outside residence at 34 Fairview Road.
Okay, so here he's talking about you're going to see evidence, text messages, evidence that their relationship was, iffy a little bit. And I have not seen any of those text messages. And I have not seen any testimony of anyone saying that they had a bad relationship at the end. All I saw were a few witnesses saying they saw them arguing, I believe twice, one in Aruba, because Jennifer McCabe said Karen called me saying I saw John talking to a woman. Apparently that was one of the arguments. And the second reason was because Karen was very involved with the children and she was helping John. She said, there you go, we're back. That they claim that the fights was because to get their nails done. She wanted to take their kids to Starbucks, and John didn't want the kids to be spoiled. So that's one of the reasons they fought. But I didn't see anything like huge, like he's saying here.
As mentioned, blizzards that have been predicted was occurring, heavy snow, temperatures in the teens, wind bustling around. Officer Stephen Saraf and Officer Stephen Mulaney of the Canton Police were dispatched along with Canton Fire and EMS, and you'll hear from them in regard to their response or what they observed on scene. With Officer Saraf, they will have as an exhibit anticipates a cruiser camera video from his cruiser detailing or memorializing sort of his response in the darkness in the blizzard-type conditions as he's driving from the Canton Police Station, where he was located when he received the call, to 34 Fairview Road. When they arrive there, they observe three females, sort of off to the left side of the property. When I say the left side of the property, I mean if you're standing out in the street facing 34th Fairview Road, off to the left side of the property, there's a flagpole, there's a fire hydrant, there's some bushes. That is where Mr. O'Keefe is located. On the right side of the property is sort of the driveway and mailbox, other things that you'll become familiar with through photographic evidence and other means, of course, of this trial. The three females that the officers observed there were then identified as defendant Karen Reed, Mrs. Jennifer McCabe, who received a phone call earlier in the morning from the defendant, as well as Mrs. Terry Roberts, who had also received a phone call early that morning from the defendant. The several firefighters from the Kent Fire Department will hear from in regard to their observations of injuries, abrasions, and lacerations to the right arm of Mr. O'Keefe. We'll hear their testimony in regard to swelling of his eyes and other injuries that he observed. They observed redness from the cold that he had been lying out in for some time. You'll hear the testimony from the firefighters, Timothy Nuttall, Anthony Flamati, Matthew Kelly, Francis Walsh, Jay McLaughlin, and Greg Woodbury. And at least from three of those firefighters, you'll hear testimony anticipates detailing statements that the defendant made to them when they had asked about the origination of some of those injuries. The defendant stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
She said, I hit him?
O'Keefe,
okay.
Taken from the front lawn onto what they call a scoop stretcher. As he's doing that, I anticipate you'll hear Ms. Roberts' testimony that despite the 6 inches of snow approximately that was on top of Mr. O'Keefe's body and the snow throughout the roadway, front yard, everywhere around where he was, there was grass underneath Mr. O'Keefe, where his cell phone was located underneath his body as he lay on that front lawn. He was then transported by firefighters Kelly, Flamati, and Nuttall, as well as the ambulance being driven by firefighter McLaughlin to the Good Samaritan Medical Center. Once there were some observations, and you'll hear testimony from Dr. Justin Rice from that facility as far as observations consistent with what I anticipate you'll hear from those firefighters. But then there's a certain warming procedure that they go through trying to bring his body.
Okay, let me go forward a little bit more to see if he goes back to the scene.
As well as her niece, Caitlin Albert, her niece's boyfriend, Mr. Moore, picked up by a young lady named Allison McCabe, who was Jennifer and Matthew McCabe's search was made. And you'll hear testimony from three different forensic extraction experts, Mr. Nicholas Carino, Ms. Jessica Hyde, and Mr. Ian Whitfield. You'll hear about a lot of these things called extraction reports from cell phones. A number of different troopers who were involved in the investigation.
How is she involved?
That second time that I do get to address you, what I'll be asking you, based on the evidence, again, as the court has instructed you, you are.
Oh, this is the end. He's just saying.
We collected items from the vehicle, defendant's vehicle, including the taillights, so cowling from that vehicle, pieces of the taillight that were discovered in sort of front grass, front street area. There is a specialized team called CERT team. You'll hear from Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, who was a supervisory role in relation to that. And then later on that day of the 29th, he, along with Lieutenant Tully and a number of different members from his CERT team, were searching for evidence within the mounds of snow in front of that house as the blizzard is still ongoing at this point through sort of the afternoon hours. Among the items that they locate is a sneaker. When Mr. O'Keefe is transported to the hospital, he's found to only have one sneaker on his feet. They find the other sneaker in that area of the body. They find various pieces of taillight. And as is wont to do over the course of the following days, rainstorm that comes in and the snow melts. Over those successive days, there are additional pieces of taillights that are eventually discovered in that area of the front lawn on the street. Now, from these different pieces, Ms. Harvey also locates a cocktail glass that's located on the bumper or the rear area of that scene, and she locates a human hair on the back of that defendant's vehicle as well. Now, the cocktail glass on the bumper, you also see surveillance video from the waterfall, and Mr. O'Keefe is observed on that surveillance video essentially walking out of the waterfall with a cocktail glass in his right hand. Same right hand that has minor injuries to it, and the same right hand that's attached to the right arm that has the abrasions and lacerations that are observed by the paramedics, that are observed by the doctors at Good Samaritan, and are observed by the medical examiner as well.
Okay.
You'll hear testimony from another analyst, Christina Hanley, about the forensic consistency between the drinking glass that was in the defendant's bumper and the drinking glass pieces that were found on scene 34th Fairview. You'll hear her testimony in regard to pieces of red and clear plastic that were microscopic in size that were found within Mr. O'Keefe's clothing. Consistent, in her opinion, I anticipate to testify with the same pieces of plastic contained within the defendant's tailor.
Okay, so pieces of plastic found in his body. Can't they just like match that to the taillights of the car? Isn't it like one specific material? Like he's just saying it's consistent with, but okay. And then there was a glass. What does that mean? Like, okay, they found a glass under his body. What does that mean? I don't know.
We'll hear from Ashley Ballard, who works for the lab as well, and how she fit various pieces of broken taillight from the scene together and over that taillight housing, finding them to be consistent with each other as well. We'll hear testimony from Andre Porto, who does essentially DNA analyst for the lab. Samples
consistent with
DNA samples that were taken from the taillight from the clothes of Mr. O'Keefe and the broken drinking glass that were consistent with Mr. O'Keefe. Those items were also sent, taillight pieces of taillight DNA was also sent to the lab, Bodie Technologies located in Northern Virginia. You'll hear from an analyst there, Mr. Nicholas Bradford, indicating that the DNA on the defendant's taillight, in his opinion, is consistent with that of Mr. O'Keefe and inconsistent with Trooper Proctor and Sergeant Mechanic, who were the two preliminary investigators and primary investigators in this case. You'll also hear from this test chart from that Bodie Laboratories in regard to some mitochondrial DNA that she examined in regard to that hair. Ms. Hartman found on the bumper of the car, and her opinion that it was
Hair,
consistent with
okay.
that of Ms. O'Keefe as well.
Plastic towel like drinking glass, shoe, and hair is what is found so far.
Lastly, you'll also hear from Dr. Irene Scortibello and Dr. Renee Stonebridge of the Office of Chief Medical Examiner in regard to their various examinations. Dr. Stonebridge is a neuropathologist who essentially examines brain findings. Dr. Irene Scortibello is a forensic pathologist who does the sort of autopsy. And that which then leads to subdural hemorrhage, or essentially bleeding on the brain and swelling of the brain, which then causes a condition called ecchymosis, which then sort of leads to swelling. I have an opportunity to address you directly. I thank you very much for your attention today, and I thank you for your participation and your close attention as we go through all the way. That second time that I do get to address you, what I'll be asking you, based on the evidence, again, as the court has instructed you, you are the sole arbiters of the facts of this case. You are the ones who find what the facts, iterate that, the facts, and what the evidence demonstrates in this case.
Wow.
Striking the victim, Mr. O'Keefe, with a car, knocking him back onto the ground, striking his head on the ground, causing bleeding in his brain, swelling, and then leaving him there for several hours in oblivion. The temperatures in the teens, wind swirling around, snow piling on with Mrs. McCabe and Mrs. Roberts just after 6 a.m. And that she is also guilty of vehicular manslaughter, operating under the influence of liquor, and that she is also guilty of agency after causing death. Thank you very much for listening.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Lally.
All right, let's pause
Thank you, Renee.
this.
Please record.
Interesting. The opening statement of the prosecution. So now we're going to go over the defense opening statement.
Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. Nothing that somebody else did. You will learn that it was no accident that John O'Keefe was found dead on the front lawn of 34 Fairview Road in Canton on January 29th of 2022. You will learn that at that address lived a well-known and well-connected law enforcement family in Canton, the Alberts. Because the Alberts were involved, and because they had close connections to the investigators in this case.
Now that's a big accusation, right? He's saying because the Alberts were involved. The Alberts are the homeowners that own the property where they were supposed to go to the after party, where the body of Mr. John O'Keefe was actually found. Now, for an attorney to make that huge accusation, I would think there would be some ramifications if these accusations are not based on fact, right? Isn't that what they get at certain lawsuits for defamation? Like you can say things if they are fact, but if they're not a fact, you can be sued for defamation unless you're a public figure. I'm confused, but this defense attorney is coming in hot, and actually he is such a stud. This guy is like so powerful. His body language is so powerful, high. He is always paying attention. He is focusing throughout the trial, and every single word that is being said, he's attentive, he's alert, he's not tired. I mean, even though he might be tired, he's like there, he's present. If I was ever in a situation like this, I would love to have an attorney like him. And actually, the whole team seems to be A+, and this is just my humble opinion. So let's hear from him.
Karen Reed was framed for a murder she did not commit. Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. As I previously told you, my name is David Unetti. I'm an attorney with an office in Boston. Together with attorneys Alan Jackson and Elizabeth Little, it is truly my privilege and my honor to represent Karen Reed during this trial. From a very early juncture in this case, you will question the Commonwealth's theory of the case. You will question the quality of the Commonwealth's evidence. You will question the veracity of the Commonwealth's witnesses. And you will question their shoddy and biased investigation, a faulty investigation that led to Karen Reed sitting here today. You will learn, in short, that the police did no real investigation of this case, and you will question why.
You'll question why the investigators had such tunnel vision. You'll question why they focused solely on Karen Reed, someone with no ties to the Canton Police Department, as opposed to the well-known and well-connected Albert family of Canton, a family that was never treated as suspects by the investigators in this case. Boston police officer John O'Keefe was found mortally injured on Brian Albert's front lawn. His body was in full view and almost right below Brian Albert's bedroom window on his front lawn. He was found wearing only one sneaker. You'll learn that Brian Albert was a Boston police officer as well, and that he was a trained first responder.
Okay, so let's try to make sense, right? Let's try to take short breaks to see if we can understand what's happening. So, Mr. John O'Keefe, the victim, was a police officer. He's dating Karen Reed. They go to a bar to hang out with another police officer, Brian Albert, with his wife and other couples. Something happens. We don't know if they went to, they leave the bar and they're supposed to go to Mr. Albert's house for a, after party or a little bit more hanging out. We don't know what happens. All we know is that Mr. O'Keefe's body is found in the front lawn of Officer Mr. Albert's house. And he's an EMT, he's a trained police officer for several years. He doesn't go outside to see the body. Even when the EMTs are there and everybody's there, the firefighters are there, after the 911 was already called, he never went outside to see, to nothing. Now, I'll tell you, if there are 3 cop cars in my neighborhood, the other day, I live in a building, there were 3 cop cars by my car with other people. Like they were talking to, I don't know if they were my neighbors or just visitors. And I asked them, is everything okay? Because it's normal curiosity. You want to know, why are there cops like around your neighborhood? Why are there cops in your front lawn? And if you were a cop and an EMT, wouldn't you want to go outside and see if there's anything you can do to help? So that is a very suspicious action. It's not proof of anything. We're not saying anything. Mr. Albert testified and he said, listen, I didn't want to intrude with what they were already doing. There was nothing I could do to help. They were already handling the scene. But think about you. Like, what would you do if you lived in a house and you had a party last night, and then all of a sudden there are 3, 4 cop cars in your front lawn? Wouldn't you go outside? So let's see what else.
Brian Albert was notified that another police officer was injured and unresponsive on his front lawn, and Brian Albert did nothing. His sister-in-law, Jennifer McCabe, and other civilians were on his property that morning after John O'Keefe's body was found. Police, EMTs, firefighters, police cruisers, and an ambulance, fire truck, lights flashing, and first responder Brian Albert never came out of his house. Equally important for you will be the fact that the lead homicide investigators never went inside the Albert home that night. You'll learn that Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, is a Canton police officer. It was obvious very early on that the Canton police should not be investigating the death of a man found on the property of the brother of a Canton police officer. So it was decided just about from the start that the Massachusetts State Police should take complete control of this investigation because the Canton police were conflicted out. Now, that sounded good at the time, but you'll learn that 2 major problems arose. First, despite the fact that they obviously had a conflict of interest, the evidence will show that the Canton police still had their hands in this investigation. You will find it astounding. The Canton police officer, Kevin Albert, the reason for the conflict of interest in the first place, was continually updated about the status of this investigation while it was going on.
Why?
Second, and equally troubling, is that the lead state police detective who was assigned to this case was a man named Michael Proctor. Michael Proctor.
Okay, hold on. Let's not get into Michael Proctor yet. Let's just try to understand this, the way it's happening, okay? I live in Florida, so what they're saying is like, let's say your city, you have you have Palm Beach County Police, you have Broward County Police, you have Miami-Dade Police, you have all kinds of different police units, right? So what they're saying is let's say it was in Miami. Miami-Dade County was conflicted out because one of the officers that were going to be, the investigators said, listen, I know the family, or I think it's Kevin Albert is the police officer that had a relationship with the Alberts. I didn't catch that perfectly. So please, if you do know, please write in the chat so that it can be corrected information. So they decided the Miami-Dade police is not going to investigate this. Let's call Florida State Police, and that's what happened there. Canton in Boston, they say, listen, we're not going to investigate this crime. Let's call the state police, because that way there's no conflict of interest, there's no relationships, there's nothing that we need to worry about any conflicting information showing up. But then we still want to know what's going on with the case. Like, can you please text us? Like, keep texting us like info. We just want to know what's happening. So, another suspicious activity. And that's why the defense is calling this a frame job, right? Because they have all these things happening. Now, let me stop here and let's hear about Michael Proctor. Let's hear about Michael Proctor.
You will learn, is one of the many people in Canton with deep ties to the Albert family. Michael Proctor's own mother refers to the Alberts as the Proctor's second family. His own sister's wedding, Michael Proctor was in the wedding party with Colin Albert, and he sat at the head table of that wedding with members of the Albert family. That's the man who was chosen to lead the investigation into the suspicious death on the property of Brian Albert. That's the man who gave updates to Canton police officer Kevin Albert while the state police were supposed to be investigating what had occurred at his brother Brian Albert's house. You'll learn that right from the jump, Michael Proctor predetermined the outcome of this case. Never stepped foot inside the Albert home on January 29th, 2022. Never checked out whether there were any signs of struggle inside that home. He never called for crime scene technicians and other specialists to look for blood or other trace evidence within the home. He never asked Brian Albert for permission to go in the home and take a look around. Michael Proctor never applied for a search warrant to go in that home. Instead, he focused immediately and exclusively on Karen Reed, the outsider. You will learn that no one in the Proctor family has ever called the Reed family their second family. No one in the Proctor family had been in a wedding party with anyone from the Reed family. Karen Reed was a convenient outsider. She was most definitely not from Canton. But how did Michael Proctor feel about her? How did he treat somebody he was investigating at a point in time when he should have been keeping an open mind, focusing on obtaining all possible evidence so that he didn't miss anything?
This is the lead investigator, guys.
Well, you will learn that on the very day that John O'Keefe was found dead on Brian Albert's lawn, Michael Proctor was texting with his high school buddies about this supposedly secret investigation using his personal cell phone. He was revealing information about this investigation to his friends, assuming that nobody would ever find out what he.
So this is like a lead investigator to the case. He's like texting his buddies, like, hey guys, you have no idea what's going on. Like, I got this case and like the cop was found in the front lawn, but you have no idea. Like, this lady like was dating him. Apparently they were having some arguments. So you guys want to know what's happening? Like, what the hell? Who does that?
What he was saying. He was revealing his true thoughts about Karen Reed to his friends, not what he put in his sanitized police reports, his true feelings to his friends whom he trusted, and in text messages that he never thought would come into the hands of the defense in this case. Lead investigator Trooper Michael Proctor, right from the start, called Karen Reed names he would reserve only for your worst enemies. He told his friends that he hoped that she would kill herself.
Holy craps.
He told his friends that he had seized her cell phone. And you will learn that he knew he shouldn't have been accessing any content on her cell phone because he knew there would likely be attorney-client communications on between Karen and Reed.
Wow.
He knew that he was supposed to wait for a search warrant or other permission from a judge in order to go
Arrogance.
through that phone. But you learned that he went through the phone anyway, without permission. And you'll know that he did because he told his high school buddies that he was searching her phone for nude photos of Karen Reed.
What?
He was disappointed he hadn't found any yet. That is the professional and unbiased investigator who was chosen to lead the investigation into the death of John O'Keefe.
Okay. This guy, man, seriously, I can't even believe we're here. I can't believe we're here. But yeah, yes. Do you doubt that a police officer that has had many years in the force and many whatever experiences they get where they get out of things, and the arrogance that builds in some of these people where he goes through the defendant's cell phone without a warrant, that he goes through her pictures and he's like, I'm just trying to find some naked pictures to send it to my buddies. He's texting his friends about the case, like absolute loss of any type of respect or any type of reverence that you would have authority for someone like that, right? Hopefully he's gonna testify. And what kind of authority and what kind of respect can you have when that is your behavior? So I'm going to pause here and I'm going to go back to our little summary thing. And I guess this is Michael Proctor. This is his face, but let me pause and go back real quick to the defense opening statements. Okay, this is what I wanted to see. The defense opening statements start with a powerful sentence saying Karen Reed was framed, right? We see that right away. Then another thing that is very powerful that Yannetti does, he says they will question 5 things. They will question the theory of the case. They will question the story the state is giving us. They will question the quality of the evidence, right? So the evidence the prosecution talked about, the little pieces of plastic found in the snow, the fact that Karen Reed's taillight was broken, the fact that Karen Reed and John O'Keefe apparently had a fight a few months before the incident. And what else is their theory? Like we have a slide for that. But that the jury will question the veracity of the witnesses. So here the defense is already previewing the fact that we're not going to believe some of these people. Then that we will question the bias and a faulty and shallow investigation. So very interesting. The prosecution is also going to make a bold accusation saying the Alberts were involved. The Albert family was involved. That's what they're saying here. Okay. They're saying that Mr. O'Keefe, wait, I'm sorry. Let me go back to this view because then I can view it better and I can read with you guys what's happening here. Okay, so they're saying I don't know why my slide got so small that I can't read the words. So we want to see the words, please, so that we can understand what's happening. Oh, here you go. That's better. Okay, so that the fact that the Alberts were involved, they were all very well known. Police family never questioned. And although the victim's body was found in their front lawn, nobody asked them any questions. Nobody did a search. Nobody wanted to go into the house. And even though they didn't have a search warrant, they didn't request a search warrant. And even though they didn't have a search warrant, they didn't ask for consent. Now, do you think that if I have a house and there's a deceased body in my front lawn, do you think the police is not going to ask me, can we come inside? Do you think that's going to happen? I mean, come on. Uh, the fact that Brian never went outside, Mr. Albert, being an EMT, never tried to give aid, the Canton police sending the case to the state police, the fact that Karen may have said, did I hit him? Could I have hit him? So the defense did introduce that, which is always a good thing, as a defense or whatever part you are in the party you are in the trial, you want to introduce anything that could potentially be bad evidence. You want to come clean first because you want to say, we're not hiding anything. She was distressed. She was at the scene. She didn't know what was going on with him. And she was saying, could I have hit him? Like, what happened? How did this happen? She was desperate to find a solution. The defense introduced that statement from her. They also introduced the fact that Jennifer McCabe Googled how long to die in the cold. But then the defense, in their opening statement, they say something very specific. They say that Jennifer McCabe went up some stairs after 2 a.m., which is very different than what she's going to testify to, right? Because Jennifer McCabe is saying, oh, around 5 a.m. when we went to look for John, that's when I Googled how long to die in the cold. But the defense's opening statement is saying that she did that around 2 a.m., after 2 a.m., after going up the stairs. So they must have some type of phone data to show that she went up some stairs, right? Why would they say that then if they don't have anything? The defense is also talking about some bruises that the victim had in his arms that were consistent with animal claws, and the fact that the Alberts rehomed this beautiful, beautiful dog. This is not Chloe, by the way. This is just a dog I found, but look at this beautiful German Shepherd. Now, I'm going to take a moment of silence here because I have a dog and my dog is 4 years old, Whisper. Whisper is absolutely everything. He's so wonderful. He's so much love and he's so much happiness. He's a ball of joy in my life. And I could not see myself not having Whisper in my house. Okay. Now, this family, they say they had this dog for about 8 years, maybe 6 to 8 is what I believe the variance has been so far. And they just rehomed her. They sent her somewhere else. I mean, what would have to happen in my life with Whisper that I would have to send him somewhere else? And they say they did that because the dog apparently got into a fight where the people were injured. Now, if my dog did that and I had to like get away from the area, I would move. I would move to move with my dog. Like I'm not gonna leave my dog. I'm not gonna give my dog away. There's no way. The bond that we share is just too big, too precious. Please, if you have a dog or an animal or a pet that you love very much, please write on the comments. Would you leave the dog behind? Would you rehome your pet because something happened? Would you rehome your pet? Or what or maybe the question should be what would be the circumstances that would lead you to rehome your pet? Write down the comments down below. So, okay. So they rehomed this beautiful Chloe here. Then what else happened? Karen and Brian Higgins. Oh, okay. So this is another thing that is going to come up maybe a little bit, not too much. Apparently, so Karen is with John. They go to Aruba. Then there's an argument or a fight. Then Karen came back and for a while, I guess they were separated. She was keeping her options open, which is a little, it is something the defense introduced that I was like, huh, just because of the fact that apparently she was talking to Brian Higgins, who is another person involved in this case. We're going to get to him, but she was talking to him. And I'm thinking, Karen, why are you talking to all these guys? Like, why are you talking to a police officer here? And then I think Brian Higgins is like a federal agent here. Like, can't you just get another type? I'm just kidding. I'm just being judgmental, but it was just weird that they are in the same group of acquaintances, and that's who she decided to talk to. So the defense introduced that like very lightly, just brushing it very, very lightly on that. And then the defense starts with this guy, Michael Proctor. Oh, why did I go back? Why did I go back? Let's go back to Michael Proctor. Oh, hello, Mr. O'Keefe. God bless you one more time and thank you. Now let's go back to this guy, Michael. Mr. Proctor, lead investigator. I did not do that. Somebody did this picture with him, and I just thought it was funny. So I haven't heard his testimony yet. I am not judging anything yet. All I have is the defense's opening statement with the claims that they say they have against him. So this is him. This guy right here is Mr. Proctor, and let's see what the defense is talking about him, right? Michael Proctor was assigned as a lead investigator, but he also had a relationship with Albert's family. How? Well, uh, so apparently a while ago there was a fight. Oh no, I'm sorry, this is the wrong person. So let me go back. Let me go back to Michael Proctor. So Michael Proctor, lead investigator, right? But he did not go in the house. Nothing in the home was investigated. They did not ask for permission. Did not request a warrant to search for like a sign of struggle. Was there a fight? Was the victim in the house? Is there blood? Is there something? Like, can we send Dexter there to take some analysis and do some blood spatter analysis? Can we just send a forensic team to the property where supposedly the victim may have gone in? Oh, but Jennifer McCabe said he did not go in. Well, who's Jennifer McCabe? She's just one person that was there. Have you never heard of someone lying to the police? So, big deal that the Mr. Proctor here did not do any of those things. Um and here comes the bombs, the bombs this guy is involved in. Apparently he said to his friends he wished or he hoped that the defendant would kill herself, that he looked for nudes in her phone and could not find it, and that he also said the homeowner will not catch a lot of heat because he is a Boston cop too. So when you have statements like this, the fact that the defense is claiming bias, that the defense is claiming a frame job, is no longer so far-fetched. If the lead investigator is saying, "Don't worry, the homeowners, they're fine. They're cops. They're cops. They're cops." What else do I need to tell you? They're cops. In what world, even if you thought that, would you say that? In a world where the arrogance has become bigger than anything else, and the lack of humility to think that maybe one day somebody may possibly catch you in these types of statements is like non existent in his mind, because it is a sign of arrogance for a lead investigator to say something like this without any fear of repercussion. Okay, that word is not going to come out right now, but just help me out. Like no fear of, you know what I'm saying, right? You know what I'm saying. So the arrogance is just absolutely incredible from Mr. Proctor here. Now, then we have the defense asking to find Karen not guilty at the end, because the evidence will not show beyond a reasonable doubt with a moral certainty that she is not that she is guilty. So the defense is saying the evidence is not going to prove this, so please find her innocent at the end. Now, this is the definition of the beyond a reasonable doubt with okay, let me just go over this real quick. The burden is on the Commonwealth to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant is guilty of the charges made against her. What is proof beyond a reasonable doubt? The term is often used and probably pretty well understood, though it is not easily defined. Proof beyond a reasonable doubt does not mean proof beyond all possible doubt, for everything in the lives of human beings is open to some possible or imaginary doubt. A charge is proved beyond a reasonable doubt if, after you have compared and considered all of the evidence you have in your mind, an abiding conviction to a moral certainty that the charge is true. When we refer to moral certainty, we mean the highest degree of certainty possible in matters relating to human affairs, based solely on the evidence that has been put before you in this case. So, they're saying you can't go to Google or Twitter or Facebook and look for other things. Just based on what is being presented, this is how you have to find your decision. I have told you that every person is presumed to be innocent until she is proved guilty, and that the burden of proof is on the prosecutor. If you evaluate all of the evidence and you still have a reasonable doubt remaining, the defendant is entitled to the benefit of that doubt and must be acquitted. It is not enough for the Commonwealth to establish a probability, even a strong probability, that the defendant is more likely to be guilty than not guilty. That is not enough. Instead, the evidence must convince you. Okay, I can't see this part. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Okay, convince you of the defendant's guilt to a reasonable and moral certainty, a certainty that convinces your understanding and satisfying your reason and judgment as jurors who are sworn to act consciously on the evidence that is what we mean by proof beyond a reasonable doubt. So that is the instruction that is going to be given to the jury so that they understand what does it mean. So if they have like, oh, could it have been somebody else, or is it possible the police did some, covering up here? Is it possible they didn't investigate another suspect? That would be doubt. That would be doubt. So is it possible that Karen Reed hit Mr. O'Keefe and ran away? That is a possibility. And I am actually still open to that possibility, even though the prosecution has not been doing a great job at presenting their case. I'm thinking, is that possible in any way, shape, or form? Yes, I think it's possible, but that is not beyond a reasonable doubt. Is it probable? I don't even think it's probable, but that's not a beyond a reasonable doubt. So this definition here is going to be very important when the jury comes to their to the time for them to analyze the case and make their decision. So let's go back to see what's next. What is next after the opening statements? So again, these are some of the phrases in the opening statement. Karen Reed was framed. Her car never struck John O'Keefe. She did not cause his death. And that means that somebody else did it. This is from David Yannetti. Day one. So day one, we have 3 people testifying. We're going to have Mr. O'Keefe, Paul, who is John's brother. We have his wife, Erin O'Keefe, and we have Kent Police Officer Stephen Saroff, who is one of the first ones there. So here we got Paul. Paul O'Keefe said, he testifies that they were close, like they were not him per se. His wife was close to Karen, but that he liked Karen, and that when he saw her at the hospital, because she was taken from the scene to the hospital, we're gonna get into that. He saw her and she was like, "Is he dead? Is he dead?" And he was like he blew her a kiss. So he is the first witnesses that is going to bring any type of argument into the case. So now this is part of the evidence. The fact that they had small fights regarding Karen buying the kids stuff and taking the kids to Starbucks. He also is talking about a fight that he saw in 2021 in Cape Cod that the couple had. And and he also testified that after the death occurred, that she came to the house with her father to grab her things, and they didn't really talk because he doesn't remember exactly what he was doing, but it seems like he was downstairs. She went upstairs, grabbed some things, and left, and they didn't talk. So he's going to testify to that as well. Let me see. Now, Erin O'Keefe, his wife, Paul O'Keefe's wife, right? She said they were friends, that Karen and Erin were friends, okay? And she said that Karen told her after John died, "I'll never see you again." Now, that is a good testimony for the prosecution, because why would Karen say, okay, so I'm dating a guy, I'm friends with his sister, in-law, right? And then all of a sudden he dies, and I'm thinking, "Oh, I'll never see you again." I don't think so. I think that I would be more like, "Oh my God, what happened? What are we gonna do now? What are we gonna do now? Because we're the ones who lost this loved one. How are we going to handle? Is there anything I can do to help his brother, his mother, and you as his sister-in-law to help? How can I help? Even though I'm the girlfriend and I am very sad about it, right? This would be the normal reaction, in my opinion. But Aaron said no. Karen said to her, "I'll never see you guys again." And that was weird. That was weird. So it's actually in red because that is like a point to the prosecution in my little slide. And she also testified that Karen told her they had a fight in Aruba. Okay. And this is where the testimony comes in about, I think Karen, I think they were all in Aruba, and then Karen called her saying, "Oh, I saw John talking to a woman." Something to that effect. Okay. But got to remember, there's always drinking involved with these guys. So a lot can happen, and a lot of memories can be distorted, and a lot of things can be understood or misunderstood or added or subtracted when there is drinking involved. Okay. So, but anyways, there was a fight there apparently. Now, uh, both of them, right, Paul and Aaron, testified they had a fine relationship with her. And Aaron even said, "We talked about, like, if you ever break up with John, like, I want to be friends with you. I want to remain friends. We have a great relationship. We have a great thing going." And all of a sudden, this changes everything, right? And even when Karen told Aaron, "I'm never going to see you guys again," Aaron was like, "No, of course not. Why? We are friends." So that was a powerful testimony for the prosecution, in my opinion, because it doesn't make sense that Karen would say something like that. And now we get Mr. Seraph, Mr. Seraph, Officer Steven Seraph testimony, who was the first one in the scene. And we got all these little blue words here, which are points to the defense, and the red is points to the prosecution. Let's see why I did that and why am I giving the defense so many points. Well, Officer Steven comes in. He testifies he's the first one in the scene. He testified that Karen allegedly kept asking if Mr. O'Keefe is dead. So, if she killed him and she realized she killed him, she fled the scene and left him to die, which is the accusation, why would she be desperately asking, "Is he dead? Is he dead? Is he dead?" Right? Okay, maybe she's covering up her, trying to act, but we don't know. Uh, then she says, "My boyfriend, I left him. He never came home, was played, but he said he could not hear it." And I actually had this audio. Let me just keep going. We might come back to this audio here because I heard it a few times when the attorneys played, and the judge didn't allow the attorney to keep playing. I think he played it twice or three times, and the next one he was going to play, she said no, no more. If he couldn't hear, he couldn't hear. But I heard it on the last one when the attorney played. So it would be interesting for us to listen to that again. So she's saying, "I left him, he never came home." Now, the defense is going to, the direct testimony with the prosecution is just really going through, how is the weather? Was it snowing? One of the things that the prosecution says a lot is, "What if sort of anything? What if sort of anything did you see when you get there? Who if sort of anyone was there? When did sort of if anywhere ever anything happen? What if anything was he wearing?" Like that. Those are the questions from the prosecution. And I am not playing with you. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and have fun watching it. I'm not going to watch it again because I have a hard time watching it the first time just to gather information. Like I have to watch it, and it's really hard to keep up with the prosecutor. But he's asking facts, like what happened, when did you get there, who was there, how was the weather, because they want to make sure we understand the weather was like really bad, it was snowing, because they want to say the snow was covering all the evidence that was found with additional days and all of that, right? So what else the Saraf testified to? Uh, so the defense is going to catch him on the fact that his report had a couple of errors. The address of the property was wrong. The order of the arrival of the police officers was wrong. That he allowed people to go into the house, even though it was a crime scene. But then the officer says, "We didn't know it was a crime scene. It could have been an accident. Like we didn't know." He said he did not interrogate nobody at the house, and he also testified that he didn't find any pieces of additional glass or any pieces. He never saw broken pieces of taillight at the scene. He acknowledged that he did not hear Mrs. Reed say, "I hit him," because some people are going to say she said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him," 3 times. Three times is the charm because they keep saying the same thing. Like 3 times she said it, exactly 3 times. And he's saying, "I didn't hear that. Like I got there first and I didn't hear that." Um, so they also pointed out that Saraf never wrote in his police report that she said, "This is my fault." Only that she screamed, "Is he dead?" which he claimed it was an oversight. Okay, so apparently what had happened was this. Okay, this is the guy, the first officer at the scene. He describes what happened. There's some inconsistency because some other people, some of the EMTs, we're gonna go over them. They said Karen said, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." So the defense asks, "Did you hear that?" He says, "No, I did not hear that. But I did hear her say, 'This is my fault.'" The problem with that is that the defense is going to bring up testimony he has given in the past in the grand jury, and maybe in another case which is not open to this jury. um he's going to say, "But you never said that before." Like if you're the first officer on the scene and the person at the scene with the dead body is saying, "This is my fault, I did this," wouldn't you like treat her as a suspect, question her, arrest her maybe? Isn't this a confession? He said, "I don't like this is the first time he's testifying to that right now in during this trial in 2024. And why didn't you put that in your report?" He's saying, "I was an oversight. Like I forgot about it. Like I didn't write it there." So the defense is like, "Okay, sure, whatever." So let's see here if we can get the audio that I wanted to get. I got it on Twitter the other day. Let me see if I can. Let's hear first where he's talking about the oversight. Let's hear where he's talking about the oversight, and then later, if I can find it, I'll play the audio where we're talking about 52 here. Where we're talking about I hit him, not I hit him, I hit him. I left him, my boyfriend, I left him, and then he never came home. So let's see this interaction right here.
First time you said, quote, and these are your words, tell me if I get them right. She, this is my fault. I don't know. She said, I can't believe this happened. I mean, she kept asking if he was going to die, if he's dead. And, I just basically said, we're doing the best that we could, end quote.
That's correct.
May I approach?
Yes.
So in April of 2022, for the first time, you attributed the phrase, "This is my fault. I can't believe this happened," to my client, correct?
That's correct.
But nowhere in your official report did you say that.
That's correct.
And nowhere in your interview with Trooper Proctor the next day did you say that.
That's correct.
You think that was a pretty important omission on your part?
It was an oversight.
An oversight.
Yes, sir.
That a woman whom you made contact with, standing over the body of a fallen police officer, said to you, "This is my fault." Dismiss that one.
Yes, I didn't write it down.
And then, of course, you testified yesterday,
That's odd.
and your statement changed again, right?
I don't.
Remember what you said yesterday, these jurors?
I don't. Word for word.
Well, I wrote it down. Let's see if this helps. Yesterday, you said, my client said, quote, "It's all my fault. I did this." End
I
quote.
did this.
Remember that? That yes.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
But you didn't say that at the grand jury, and you didn't say that to Trooper Proctor,
No, sir.
and you didn't put it in your report.
That's correct.
If you were to testify in another 2 or 3 weeks, you think her statement would just keep evolving?
Oh,
Sustained.
argumentative. Would you just keep adding stuff, Mr.
Now I want to shift gears for a second and talk about what this
Saraf?
actually.
Okay, so that is where the defense really, catches him. Like, dude, she said, "This is my fault. I did this." And you don't arrest her. You don't write that on your report. You don't tell the lead investigator that. You don't tell anybody in the grand jury. You don't tell anybody ever until 2 years after today. And you're here telling us she confessed. It's odd. It's odd. Okay. So now we're going to go to another one. Okay, this one here. We're going to play the audio on this Twitter file, but this is a clean version, but they did play in court. I did hear in the court, but this is a cleaner version. Let's see. So only on my right ear am I listening. Am I hearing this? Look. Clear as day. That's the original. Very clear. My boyfriend, I left him. He never came home. Okay. So that is very clear to me. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Please make a comment, write something down if you could hear it or not. If you heard it at court or if you didn't hear that day, if you only heard it now with the enhancement, I can tell you the defense attorney was like to the witness, pay attention right after she says this, that what she's saying. And he was like, I can't hear it. I can't recognize it. And then he was like, let me play one more time. And I can't hear it. And then let me play one more. And the judge's like, no, you're done. You're not going to play again. If he didn't hear it, he didn't hear it. But when he played that for the second time or the last time he played, I was like, oh, I heard that. And that is Karen saying, my boyfriend, I left him and he never came home. So she's emphasizing her story, her side of the story in a way that is actually very natural because she's in shock. She's panicking. She's desperate. That's what everybody's saying when they find Karen at the scene, that she is going crazy. She's just desperate. Like, of course, like when a loved one dies and you see them there, she's going crazy and she's saying, my boyfriend, I left him. He never came home. So, if anybody at the jury heard it, if anybody could see, like could get the words together, put the words together, I don't know, but I definitely heard that. So let's continue here with Mrs. Saraf's testimony. Let's see if we have anything else. Okay, so I believe that was the last one of that day, right, Mr. Saraf? And here is my who won the day? Who won the day? So, in my opinion, the defense definitely won the day because these are the key things that came in, right? Defense said Karen was screaming, is he alive? So if she killed him, why would she be screaming that? Karen taking John's adopted children to get nails done, buying them things, So yeah, it's like when you go to a job interview and they ask you, what are your qualities and what are your shortcomings? And you say, well, my shortcomings is that I care too much, is that I'm such a perfectionist. That is what's wrong with me. That's the same thing as saying, well, they had fights because Karen wanted to do so much for the children. What kind of defect is that? Aaron expressing an interest in remaining friends, which shows that Karen has a good character, or at least, was someone that she wanted to be stay friends with. Then another defense win is the "I left him, he never came home" statement. Then the other defense win is showing that the report from the police officer had so many mistakes in it, had the wrong address, that he never read it, he never corrected the report, that he also just added "this is my fault" to the testimony now. He never testified to that or wrote it before. That he allowed people to go into the house, that he did not interrogate anyone at the house, that he never saw pieces of broken tail light that is going to become evidence later. Now, what the prosecution won for me was the fact that they had a fight introduced, 2021 fight in Cape Cod, that Karen went to grab her things and they didn't really speak, that Karen said, "I will never see you guys again," and that they had the fight in Aruba. So those are the key points that I gathered. If you got something else, please share with us. I just want to see like who is winning this as in a day-to-day basis. Now, let's see, where do we go from here? Day two. Day two, we have the cross-examination again of Mr. Saraf. Let me go back. Let me go back to my slide here. Okay. We also have, pause, pause, pause. There you go. We also have Stephen Mulaney, one patrol officer. We got Timothy Nuttall, firefighter. We got Anthony Flamati, which is another firefighter. So let's get started because we got a lot of firefighters. We got a lot of what, if anything, how, if any, how, where, if anywhere, who, if anyone, when, if, whenever, has anything ever happened, sort of, from the prosecution. I am not joking. You guys think I'm joking. If you haven't watched this trial, you think I'm joking, but I might play a little bit of the prosecution. I'm just going to pick like randomly. So you see, I'm not even like exaggerating here. Okay, so let's see. First one, Stephen Mulaney. He testified he saw no broken plastic at the scene, that Karen was distraught and she was taken to the hospital under Section 12. And he also confirmed he never heard Karen say, "I did it, it's my fault, I hit him." None of that. So apparently, Karen is at the scene and she's screaming and she's like, "What happened? Is he dead? Is he dead?" Then she's Section 12, which in Massachusetts is the same thing as being Baker corrected in Florida. I don't know about the other states, but it just means that you're going to go to a safe place. You're going to go to a safe place, lady. If you want it, if you don't want it, we're going to take you to a safe place. And it's kind of like a psychiatric hold, if somebody is in danger of harming themselves or others. This would be one of the most common reasons why people get into a psychiatric hold. And this is what they're talking about. I don't have the evidence right now on this slide why, but she was Section 12. And he's saying, "I never heard her say anything like that, and I never saw any plastic." So far, we got two people saying they never saw any plastic there, but the plastic is gonna come in a few days later. They're gonna find plastic, right? So weird. Now we have this guy saying, "I never heard her say anything, I hit him." But we got the first guy saying, "Just now, new evidence, I heard her say, 'This is my fault.'" So who are you gonna believe? Who are you gonna believe, right? Then we got this guy, Timothy. I'm not even gonna try to say his name. Let me go back. Timothy, why does this? Because I have to press. I have to press pause and then I take too long and then there you go. So Timothy, the firefighter, paramedic, very knowledgeable guy, he's focusing giving life-saving measures when he arrives to the scene. He says the Mr. O'Keefe had a hematoma or an egg on the right side of his face, just above his eye on the forehead, and scratches on his upper arm. Now, this is I do believe this is the actual arm of Mr. O'Keefe. I'm not going to post any other images like that or anything that didn't come into the trial yet. This has not come into the trial, but I have seen this picture in a previous hearing from the defense team. So just so we see kind of what they're talking about, there could be animal claws. This is what they mean. It's like scratches in his arm, that are consistent with animal claws. Now, they question him, could it be caused by this, by that? Could it be caused by a fight? He says it could be caused by a golf ball. It could be caused by anything. I don't know exactly. This is referring to the egg uh, on Mr. Keefe's forehead. Then he said that it could be a fight. Now he is one of the first ones that said he did hear one of the women say to them, I hit him, I hit him. He said he couldn't identify her, but he saw blood on her face. But he was too busy trying to do CPR. Um, then they questioned him about a jacket that he remembers, and then the defense tries to catch him saying, well, apparently, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. You remember that as well as you remember the jacket, right? And then they also have like a funny moment with him because he keeps saying biceps versus forearm, and because of his accent, people don't understand, like heavy coat, and then we get the reference here of my cousin Vinny, because I didn't understand. I didn't remember the scene they were talking about. I thought, why not share this so that we can all remember together? Let me just see where here. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second, guys. Maybe stretch, maybe get up and stretch a little. Ooh, while I look for this. Okay, got it. Let's go. Clear as day. Hilarious. Okay, so now after that witness, right? So he introduced that he heard I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Now we got witness number 6, which is Anthony Flamat. Ay, ay, ay. I'm getting irritated that I can't get the slide in the right place. Where is he? Where is he? Where is everybody? Where is it? See how many people, like a lot happens. And as we go, we're like, oh, it's fine, but it's a lot of information. So this is Anthony Flamati. Flamati. I'm sorry, Anthony. He's a firefighter at Canton Fire Department. He is very straightforward. He answers the questions very, nicely, and he doesn't seem suspicious or anything. But he also does say that he asked Karen Reed if she knew anything about the body, and he says she screamed out, I hit him. Oh my God, I hit him, I hit him. Dash, and this is 3 times. 1, 2, 3. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, right? Now the dash cam footage is showing court. It's hard to see and hear, in part due to the snowstorm taking place when Mr. O'Keefe was found, but Jackson did his best to use the video to create doubt about what happened. Now, one of the questions from the defense in the cross was, did you see any place in that video where you had any detailed conversation with my client? And he says no. 2 of the other first responders to date have said they heard her screaming, though they said they did not hear anything like I did it. It was just something like, he's dead, he's effing dead. So, it's a chaotic scene, and the defense is trying to put doubt into what these guys, the EMTs, the firefighters, are testifying here, as far as Karen's supposed statement. So Jackson said, "You testified my client said I hit him. You testified Anthony heard Karen Reed said I hit him." Jackson says, "Are you in the frame when she's being questioned?" He says, "No." So like, if you're not there, when did you guys have a conversation? We don't see you in the video having a conversation. Jackson also pointed out during cross that nowhere in his reports, he mentioned to the investigators or doctors that he believed Karen Reed told him um, that she might have hit him with a vehicle. So he says it's not in the report. So that's something very weird. These people are claiming things happened, but they never wrote it on their report. In this case, I will say I'm a perfectionist, and I have taken reports of events before, and I will literally like type almost everything. Almost everything. I'll be like, then they said this, then they replied that, and this is the counter reaction, and this is what happened. And especially if it's a confession. If it's somebody's, and in this case, because he's a firefighter, he's saying, "Did you tell the doctors that the victim might have been hit by a car?" Like, would you usually say, "This is what we believe happened" to the doctors, or is that not important? And he said, "No, I didn't tell the doctors, and it wasn't in my report." So that doesn't look very good. That doesn't look very good to the prosecution's case, okay? But the fact that he did say, "I heard her say I hit him," is a point to the prosecution, right? Because here we got, I believe, 3 people now that have said it, that they heard her say that. Okay. We're going to go back after the end of day 2 and see how many people have said that so far. Okay, there you go. We are at the end of day 2. So we got, let me go back. So Officer Seraph, Officer Seraph said that she said, "This is my fault. I did this." So that's one person, right? To the prosecution, that is confirming the prosecution's theory. Then we have this witness who did not say that, so we're not going to count him. Then we have this witness that said, yes, he heard her say, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him" 3 times. Then we have here Anthony saying he heard, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him." So that's 3 people so far. And I believe he was the last one. Okay. So yeah, so 3 people so far have testified that they've heard some type of confession, right? Either, "I did this. This is all my fault," or "This is my fault. I did this." Steven Seraph. Then we have, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him" from the EMC. Then we have, "I hit him, I hit him, I hit him" from Anthony Flamatis. So that is some evidence. Yes, that is a prosecution evidence for sure. It is testimony, which is to be considered evidence. The jury has to weigh what they believe to be true, and if they believe that the witnesses, if they believe they are telling the truth, and if they have any questions. But this is definitely testimony being introduced. Okay. Now, the defense is putting a very strong defense until now. They're like, "Listen, this is inconsistent. Why didn't you put it in your report? If she said that, why didn't you put it on your report? If the defendant has admitted, 'This is my fault. I hit him. I hit him. I hit him with my car.' Why didn't you tell the doctors, 'I think he was hit by a car?'" Because the doctors can better treat the patient if they know what happened to him, right? Otherwise, they're just blind. So the defense is doing a great job at poking holes into the testimony, and Well, keeping an open mind, we don't know what happened, right? We don't really know what happened. And that's the thing. A lot of people in social media, they're like, this is what happened. I'm sure of it. Everybody else sucks. And they're attacking other people. And I don't think we should do that. We should keep an open mind. And yes, I do have some, irreverent slides sometimes where I may have like a solo cup with the investigator's picture on it, but it's all in good fun. I don't know what happened. I'm just watching the trial like you guys are watching the trial, trying to understand what's happening. And if I was a juror, how would I see this? So we go back to the slide on day 3 here, where we continue with Anthony. Then we have Matthew Kelly, firefighter paramedic. He says he sees a frantic woman when he gets to the scene, and she says, he's dead. He's effing dead. She's screaming. He's confirming the victim only had one shoe on, and he did not see any other shoes there at the scene, but they definitely found some shoes. They definitely found a shoe a few days later. So, after confirming that he never heard Karen say I hit him, but he heard her say effing dead, and he also recalled her asking, is he alive? Is he alive? um so that would be, points to the defense, because he's not saying he didn't find a shoe. He didn't hear her say anything like I hit him, and everybody's there at the same time. So who is telling the truth? Who isn't? Who has a better, maybe they're situated in a better area where they can actually hear her say that. Maybe she didn't say that. We don't know. Now we got Francis Walsh, another paramedic. He says that the weather was really bad, and all that he heard her saying was asking again, is he alive? Now here comes Katie. Katie is a big deal, apparently, in this trial because of a silly question. I mean, the defense is claiming there's bias. The defense is claiming that they have some type of, connections being used to keep people from asking questions, to keep interrogations from happening and searches and all of that. Katie's a firefighter paramedic who goes to the scene, and she goes strong and testifies that, yes, I heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. I heard her say that for sure. I heard her say that, right? So that's a pretty bad testimony for the defense, right? But then the defense says, do you know whose house that was? Because, that's Mr. Albert's house. Do you know whose house that was? She was like, I don't know. And the defense is like, well, do you know who Caitlin Albert is? So Katie says, I went to high school with someone named Katie. But then we get all these pictures with Caitlin Albert and the firefighter right here. Apparently, they're in the house. And, this is just a person you went to high school with, or is this somebody that you hang out with? So the judge doesn't want to introduce the pictures because the judge doesn't want to have a mini trial within the trial. Okay. And the judge is very controversial in people's opinions. Some people think that she's straightforward working for the prosecution. Some people say that she has been extremely rude to the defense. And I have seen her cut off the defense. I have seen her in the middle of the defense's like argument or something to she like cuts them off and start asking questions. But what about this? But what about that? And they're supposed to finish their argument. I'm not there yet to say that the judge is working for the prosecution, because I have seen the judge allow things in for the defense team, and I have seen the judge go with the prosecution side as well. But this is what she's saying. Like, I'm not going to allow you guys to put these pictures in to show that the firefighter knew Caitlin Albert, because it's not that relevant. Like, it's not, she did say she knows somebody named Caitlin, But then they have a whole thing, I think the next day, where the both sides argue, you know the defense wants to show to the jury that this firefighter, who is being a very strong witness to the prosecution, saying that their client said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. She knew that Kaylin Albert, her friend, lived there, and she didn't want to cause any trouble. That's what the defense is alleging. And here are some other pictures that the defense team received from the internet, and they want to impeach the witness, showing pictures of their relationships over the years. Um, because the firefighter seems to be wanting to distance herself from knowing Caitlin. So these are other pictures of them in the same group. Okay, so I just think that the girl should have been like, yeah, I know Caitlin Aubrey. We went to high school together. We have some friends in common, because that apparently seems to be the truth. They don't seem to be best friends. And the defense is pushing really hard on this. Like, no, but you guys go to the beach together and you guys go to baby showers together. Just because you're at a baby shower, just because you're in a picture with someone, like I have someone I can think of right now. It's a lady that maybe we were closer in the past, but like we'll still be in several places in the same place, and we'll be in pictures together, and we'll smile and be next to each other. But we're not friends. We're not best friends, especially we're not close friends. We're just like, now we're like acquaintances. I know this person, but I'm not like sharing my life with this person. So, as far as that goes, the defense is definitely going a little bit way above what they have to. They should definitely show to the jury that they do know each other well, that they do know each other over the years, and that the firefighter knew very well whose house that was, just to show to the jury, listen, you have to weight that against her testimony that she's saying Karen definitely said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. But now that would be four people that said that, right? We got Saraf, we got Anthony Flamati, we got Katie I can't say her last name, and we got somebody else, the EMT, my cousin Vinny guy, who I forgot the name, but my cousin Vinny, EMT. These four people are saying they heard some type of confession from Karen Reed. Okay, so yes, defense, go ahead and poke holes all you want, but that is what has come in so far. Now, on day four, we got Katie again on the stand, and we got the jury view. They go to the crime scene. This is a couple of pictures from the house. I believe this is Karen's car. This is the picture of the house, how it would have looked the day after, right? These are two garage doors. You got all the snow, and it's really hard to see. And then we get witness number 10, the another paramedic from the Canton Fire Department. He says that Karen was very distraught, very upset, and she was resistant to the idea of being taken to the hospital for a psychiatric evaluation. So he did see John's body and the scratches on the forearms and bruises, but he was there for the section 12. So he left the scene, and then he came back to bring Karen to the hospital for the psychiatric hold. She didn't want to go. She was resistant in the beginning, but then she finally agreed. And he also confirmed that she kept asking, is he dead? Is he dead? Very distraught. Then we have the witness number 11, Daniel Whitley, paramedic firefighter. He was sent to the scene to help with the Section 12, also sending Karen to the hospital psych patient. She was giving the nurses a hard time, noting that she didn't want to wear a hospital gown or give a urine sample. And then he also confirmed when the defense asked if he was aware that she was diagnosed with MS. right? So I think that that diagnosis as being introduced kind of to show the jury and the people watching that sometimes her body language and her mannerisms and her, the way she blinks or the way she moves when she's sitting there could be and are, because she is diagnosed with that, influenced by her diagnosis, which is like a nerve disease. So, just I don't know why they introduced that, but that's one of the assumptions that I've heard so far, which does make sense. Then, and yeah, I mean, if you're going on a psychiatric hold, you don't want to put a gown. You don't want to cooperate. You don't want to be in a psychiatric hold. So I don't see anything wrong with the fact that Karen was not cooperative for that until she finally was. But I don't see anything like weird about that. Then we have witness number 12, Jason Becker, another firefighter. He spoke of the initial response to the scene and how Karen Reed was distraught. She reportedly told Becker that she had just performed CPR and she had blood all over her face, around her mouth, and on her neck. Um, so nothing much here on his testimony. Then we go to day 5, and then the outside of the jury, they talk about Katie McLeod. See, I'm not gonna try the way that I read that name is bad because I have an accent. So it's like Katie McLaughing. That's how I read it, guys. So I apologize for that. So they talk about the perjury, the possibility that she's perjuring herself because she has a connection with the Alberts family. This is what the defense is claiming. Is it possible? Yes. Is it probable? I don't know. Is it beyond a reasonable doubt? No. But the defense does have a right to bring the relationship into the light, right? I do believe that. I don't know about perjury because who would want to? I mean, what kind of relationship do you have with someone where you would lie about a murder, right? I mean, not that it is a murder, but what if it was? Like, how close friends are you with Caitlyn that you're like, oh my God, this is Caitlyn's house. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to lie and say this lady was like, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And that's not true. I don't know. But I do believe that the jury has the right to know that Katie does know Caitlyn way more than she tried to say. Oh, I knew a girl named Caitlyn. Like, I don't know who that is, but I kind of remember maybe in high school there was like a girl there and her name was Caitlyn. Even though like I have all these pictures with her and like drinking and hugging and like having fun, but I don't know this girl. I don't know. So we got witness number 13, Paul Gallagher. Let's see if we have seen this guy before. Oh my gosh, he's one of my favorites. Paul, I have given him a solo cup. And it's not even, I don't think it's his fault, the solo cup, but I have definitely given him a solo cup because I believe this guy is one that has given me permission to make fun of him, right? Because he's like, I would never go in their house. Like, did you go in their house? Like, no. Did you ask for consent to search the house? Absolutely not. Did you get a warrant? Of course not. Like his attitude and his arrogance when replying to those questions about did you go into the house where the body was found? Like, did you ask the people in the house if they know anything? His reactions are like, no, like not, you know? And that's why he gets a solo cup just for him. So he talks about the crime scene tapes were up for a moment, but the wind kept blowing, so they didn't have them. They got a leaf blower to get the snow out of the way and look for more evidence. They found blood stains and drinking glass the day of the day they found Mr. O'Keefe's body. They had blood stains in the snow around his body and a drinking glass. He never measured or marked where the body was found or any other items. In 30 years, he has never processed a crime scene. He described his unit usually does not process crime scenes. Um, but they were, I think, about a mile from the station, so they could have, gone to the station to get more materials. Or I think when they called the crime scene unit, the ones that usually process the scene, that Mr. O'Keefe was not dead, so they couldn't really go and process the scene. So these guys are left there, and he has never processed a crime scene in 30 years. He's like, okay, so what do we do here? Like, okay, the body was here. There's some blood stains. We don't have any evidence material. How are we gonna get this stuff like out of the way? Well, I got a leaf blower. Let's just get the leaf blower and like we'll blow some of the snow, and like if we find anything, we find anything. That's how they did it. This is kind of how the scene looked like, or the weather looked like the day of them finding Mr. O'Keefe's body. This is the house again, and how much snow was happening. Look at how much snow was happening. But if there was a 6-foot man here, he would either have to be completely submerged into the snow, or you would be able to see some type of, because look at the snow is super bright, super white, but here we got black. You would be able to see if he was like half covered by the snow, right? So this is how apparently the body was found. And this is something that I don't know exactly where the body was found. Like from looking at the previous picture, if this is something that from other angles you wouldn't be able to see. But this is a pretty big black area in the white snow. And then you got all these little pieces of blood. And I guess a drinking glass was found here as well. So then this is them. They introduced the video of them clearing the snow with the snow with the not snow blower, with the leaf blower. Okay. So then the defense is like, all right, so what did you do to preserve the crime scene? Because apparently you guys are like taking freaking I don't know, you guys are taking a leaf blower here, you guys are getting solo cups from the neighbors, and did you do anything to preserve the integrity of the scene? And he's like, well, we took photographs, we took statements, and he was also asked about Sergeant Link, who comes next, I believe, and Mr. Albert having a relationship, and that he saw no problem with that, and tasked Sergeant Link to help with the statements. He asked the neighbor for solo cups to collect evidence from the snow, and they just scooped up the blood. Like, this is one evidence, another evidence. And now here's my favorite questions. Did you ever go inside the house to search for evidence for the rest of the glass? Absolutely not. Did you search the house for anything? Did you ask for consent? Of course not. Is that because you knew it was Albert's house? So let me see if I can actually play this clip, because I thought it was just fascinating the way he responded. I mean, he could have said, no, we didn't, but he said, absolutely. And I just have to find the right place here. 30. And his body language is very interesting too. Let me see. His body language is very interesting when he is actually being questioned by the defense on the cross examination. Let's play a little bit of him and let's watch his body language.
The objection sustained. Move on to your next question, Mr. Lally.
We are at 1.5 speed, but the lips are like in the negative here. There's tension in the forehead, closing eyes. Okay.
Now, you mentioned that there was some crime scene tape that was set up around. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And how was
This is
that?
the prosecution, guys. Let's see if he says let's see if the prosecutor says what, if any, sort of, maybe, sort of, anything ever happened before. Let's see. Just for funs, let's watch the prosecutor.
That sort of, how was that accomplished?
Sort of.
Sergeant Good and my Detective Sergeant Lank put out the crime scene tape.
Do you know what, if anything, they were able to use to attach it to in order to
What, if
set up
anything?
groundwork to keep them found?
I believe they used a fire hydrant, a tree, a flagpole, and I'm not sure what else. I don't recall specifically what it was attached to.
And with regard, you mentioned there were photographs that were taken prior to the implementation of a leaf blower. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And I can just ask a little bit about that. As far as the leaf blower was concerned, why was that a decision as far as that being an implement to use this particular scene?
Why are you
It
guys
was easy
getting
to see.
a
There was
leaf
snow. I
blower?
had never processed a scene in the snow. I had seen a leaf blower used.
Well, you
in
never
the snow, and
processed a
it's
scene
quite effective
ever.
at, being controlled. So that's why it was readily accessible. The scene was debilitating as we were on scene with the weather. Snow was piling up, and I thought that was the best method at that time.
And prior to the arrival of Sergeant Good back to the scene with the leaf blower, what, if anything, else was done to
What, if
document the
anything?
scene at that time?
Okay, so I
and-
heard enough what if anythings from the prosecution. Let me see if I can find. Oh, right here. Okay, 239. I believe 239. This is where the defense is going to start asking him.
Rationally think, well, maybe the rest of this glass is inside the residence.
No,
You did
No.
not think that.
there was a reason that I didn't think that.
What is the
Did you
reason?
think that? Well, let me ask you this: did you ever go inside the house to search for the other part of the glass?
Absolutely not.
Look at his stupid face. I'm sorry. I had to get that out. Ugh, absolutely not. I hate that so much. So the lips, right? The lips pursing. Right after you say something, you're like, it's because I'm just making okay, I can't talk. Words are difficult today. So pursing lips, sign of anger, classic sign of anger, including suppressed anger. It can indicate that the person is thinking and deciding between options. Deciding disapproval are both evaluative actions, which is common core for pursed lipping. No, lip pursing, not purse lipping, lip pursing. And the other thing is excessive blinking, which he is displaying here, which can indicate anxiety, which often pairs with lying. If the level of blinking seems exaggerated, it might be because the person is lying. Now I am on 1.5 speeds, but let me make it 1. Let me make it 1. So we can see if this guy is blinking excessively and pursing his lips excessively.
Because you made up your mind initially where that glass came from.
Objection.
You can answer that, sir.
No,
Did you search the house for any other matching glasses?
no, no,
No
Matter of fact, you
way.
didn't search the house for any physical items, did you?
of course not.
Of course not.
Is that because that house belonged to a Boston police officer?
No,
Yes.
it's because it requires probable cause, as you know, which we did not have.
Or at least you didn't think you had at that time?
We knew we didn't have it.
Did
Oh,
you
you
seek it
knew.
from a judge?
I'm familiar with what probable cause is.
Did you seek a probable cause
He's
warrant
the
from
judge.
No, I did not.
Right.
He's the judge. I'm familiar what it is. I'm familiar what we need for probable cause. I'm the judge. I don't need to ask the judge. I'm the judge. I judged there is no probable cause. That's what he does. So this guy gets a beautiful spot in my slide with a lot of solo cups. And in my thumbnail, I actually made his face with the pursed lips like that into a solo cup. I have the solo cup with his face on it. So guys, please, please help me out here. Did this guy irritate you as much as he irritated me? Because I just don't like the of course not. Why would I look in the house? Like I didn't look for any of the rest of the drinking glass because of course not. Absolutely not. I did not go into the house. I did not request for warrants because I know what probable cause is. Dude, you're not the judge. You're not the judge. Okay? So, let me see what else. How does this end? Oh, a big swallow. That's how it ends. He's like, "Bleh. That didn't go well."
Did you ask for consent
Blink.
to search the house?
We wouldn't do consent, and that's
You wouldn't do consent? What does that mean? What the heck does that mean? Did you ask for consent? Listen, Mr. Albert, I know you're a police officer and, somebody's dead in your lawn. Can we go in the house and take a look around? We wouldn't ask for consent.
in a death investigation.
Yeah, that wasn't my question.
Oh, it was a death investigation, so we wouldn't ask for consent.
My question
No,
was,
I did not.
Did you ask? No.
is that
Blink,
because
blink,
you were at the
blink.
house of a Boston police officer?
No, it's because we wouldn't do it. Because if consent is denied, we still don't have.
Wait. So you're afraid of rejection. So you're like, Mr. Albert, can I go in your house? Well, if he says no, I'll be so embarrassed. What if I ask him, can I go into the house, take a look around? He's like, no. He's like, well, if consent is denied, then I still don't have the probable cause.
Probable cause, and we still couldn't search.
Look at the tone. His cadence is like so angry. He's trying to be calm. He's like, I still don't have probable cause.
The house.
But you never asked, did you?
Never asked.
Never asked. Look at my banana face. Never asked.
According to your interview with
It's not
Lieutenant
done, by the
Tully,
way. He's like, please get me out of here.
after going to the scene the first time, you then returned back to Canton Police Department, correct?
Yes,
At that point, you remember having a conversation with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
that is correct.
And you indicated that having that conversation with Chief Berkowitz, that was about Canton Police Department recusing themselves.
Not doing any further investigative interviews. Yes.
Why?
And
Why
you
not?
indicated actually in that conversation that you agreed with Chief Berkowitz that Canton should be recused, correct?
He agreed with me.
Oh,
Your
oh,
assessment
you are
that
so
the
powerful.
recusal
He
should take
agreed with
place?
me.
Yes, it was.
And he agreed.
That is correct.
Okay. And the reason for that recusal was because of the relationship between the Albert family and the Canton Police Department.
Turned down for what?
What was the reason for the recusal?
So then why?
The reason was we had a Boston police officer
Mm-hmm.
on another Boston police officer's lawn or
Exactly.
property, and that property owner was the brother of somebody.
Oh, so
in
what
our
did
investigative unit.
he just say?
That's one way to put it. Another way to put it would be because of the Albert family having a relationship with the Canton Police Department.
It has to do with Detective Albert
Dude, it's the
having
same
a
thing.
relationship with his family.
Right. Or the other side of that is his family having a relationship with Canton Police
officer.
Department.
Objection, Your Honor.
Like,
Sustained. Go ahead. Move on, please.
and then the judge
What
like,
time
no,
was that
move on.
conversation with-
So why did the judge have to cut? Like, he's trying to make a point, right? So why is the judge like, okay, move on. No, let him press the guy because he's getting like, it takes a while. He's asking the guy like 4 or 5 questions to press him to agree. Yes, that's true. And the judge's like, no, let's stop right here. I don't like this. So that's the kind of thing people are talking about, where the judges sometimes seems to be going with the defense, with the prosecution. So let me go back to my solo cup slide. Of course not. And then here is his facial expressions during this. Did you know Brian Albert? Yes, since I became a police officer. Did you ever seek a warrant? No, why not? I'm familiar with probable cause. I know what he needs. I don't need to ask a judge, right? That's his testimony here. And then we have the excessive blinking, indicating anxiety. Could be lying. And we also have the pursing of the lips from this beautiful little dog. Look at this little dog, which is suppressed anger. And he's doing that the whole time of his testimony, okay? This is not just one little screenshot. This is the whole time of his testimony. Then we get this guy, Sean Good. You guys tell me how to pronounce that. He's another Canada police officer. Nice guy. I have no problem with this guy. He seems nice enough, polite enough. We just have some cute little drawings here because he does say sure, and the defense like, don't say sure. Is it either yes or no? And the judge's like, well, if he can say if he can't say yes or no, he can say sure. Then we got a leaf blower here because I think this was his leaf blower or maybe something like that. So let's see. Mr. Sean, what did he say? He is the third officer on the scene. He knew the home belonged to Mr. Brian Albert. He had been there before. He arrived at the scene and Carrie Reed was distressed. He searched the scene, but he did not go into the house. All officers are first responders, and he did not ask Mr. Albert why he did not go outside. There was an objection here. He did not hear Carrie Reed make any statements such as I hit him. He got the leaf blower to clear the snow around where Mr. O'Keefe's body was found. He recovered droplets of blood in the snow. There was no tail lights, no shoe, or anything else found at the scene. Mr. Albert's name was not in the police report. Why? We don't know. He was Brian Higgins' address, who is another involved party. Brian Higgins' address was not listed on the police report. Brian Higgins was an investigator on this case, but not officially. So he used the police department address in the police report instead of using his own. I guess he's supposed to use his address unless he is the investigator in the case, which in that case, he would be allowed to use the police address. So just interesting things happening here. Interesting things, just one after another. Then we got this guy, Mr. Sergeant Michael Link. Why is Michael Link interesting? Well, we're going to see. We're going to find out right now. Mr. Michael Link. He is or was, apparently he is not anymore, but during his testimony, he says, yes, he was friends with Chris Albert in the past. He says he doesn't have a friendship with Brian Albert, the owner of the house, but he does say hello to him. He knows him. In the past, he was involved in a fight helping Chris Albert. No one was arrested the night of the fight. A day later, one of the men involved in the fight made a complaint against Mr. Link here, and then the Canton police filed charges against the people for their role in the fight. Defense asks if this is how they use or abuse their police power. At the scene, Mrs. McCabe was allowed to go in the house. She told police Mr. O'Keefe did not go in the house. Then the defense asked, have you ever been lied to by a witness? And he said yes. There was no search, no consent request, and no notification to superiors about prior relationship with the Alberts. Scooped blood samples with solo cups obtained from neighbors. So that is the investigation we're getting here. And that is why the defense keeps saying these people have some type of connections together. And these people may have framed Carrie Reed because this is, whoops. Okay. This is a tight group, or even if not tight, even if they're not best friends, they're like, we're brotherhood. Like one person, one police officer protects the next. Like we're not going to just investigate our own, right? There's not going to be any heat to Mr. Albert because he's a police officer. This is what Michael Proctor said. So all of this has happened in 5 days. 5 days, we had 14 witnesses. What were the big evidence presented against Carrie Reed? That we had 4 people testify that she had made some type of confession at the scene saying, this is my fault. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. We had a firefighter, the first one, Saraf, officer. We had an EMT and we had another firefighter testify to that. But with those 4, we have issues with those 4. Sergeant Saraf, we have an issue because he never has said that before ever in his life before ever. He has never said, Karen Reed said, this is my fault. Until now, until this trial. He didn't put it in his police report. He didn't tell Michael Proctor, the lead investigator. He didn't ever say it before. And now, 2 years later, He's like, oh, yeah, she said it was my fault. Then we got Katie, the other firefighter, saying, oh yeah, I heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him like 3 times exactly. And no, I don't know Caitlin Albert. Like, what? Caitlin Albert? Like, maybe there was like a Caitlin in my high school, but I don't know her. And then we have the other EMT who was a very nice guy, that my cousin Vinny guy. He said, I heard her say I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, but I was doing CPR. And also, yeah, sometimes memory could be faulty. And then we have, who else said it? I forget, but one other person said it. So this is what the prosecution has done in 5 days, 14 witnesses. Okay. Meanwhile, the defense has brought in bombs of people knowing each other, and in the past, uh making charges against somebody that was making a complaint against them and getting involved in fights for another officer, and knowing each other and just not asking for any evidence, and then having no evidence at the scene, but days later finding evidence at the scene. And definitely 5 days in, and you're leading defense. You're leading defense way. You're like, okay, I think there's some iffy things here. I think the defense has a point. But this is nothing. We have a lot more days to cover. We have a lot more to go in the trial. We're in the middle of the trial. We haven't even gotten to the finish, to the end of the prosecution's case yet, right? The prosecution is like, what if sort of anything? What if sort of anything? What if sort of anything? And we're like, okay, just please give us the case, give us some evidence, present it to us. How was she drunk? How did she hit him? What was his cause of death? And let us understand why you're bringing this case, right? But it is fascinating. It's a fascinating case. So I just want to thank everybody for spending this time with me today. I hope that you enjoyed the stream, and we will come back with the following days. We're going to have part 2 with 5 more days, and then we're going to have part 3, and that should catch us up. So if you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, make a comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. God bless.